Okay, well, let's call the meeting to order, and the secretary will actually do roll call.
Did you guys do it?
Mr. Thomas?
These guys. Did it?
I think Alex was.
Here.
Mr. Martinzik?
Here.
Mr. Hemrick?
Here.
Mr. Huntsman?
Here.
All right, sir.
Okay. The procedure for this evening is going to be looking at 3 cases.
Yeah, that's him. He's gonna have to mute it.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Anyhow, we have 3 cases for this evening. The first case, would you care to read it for the record?
Yes, sir, I will do that. The purpose of the hearing is so the BZA may review and act on a variance request, case number 839, made by property owners Jennifer and Larry Hudson. The nature of the request is to seek a variance from the maximum height of fencing in the required front yard of a residential lot. The applicant is seeking a variance from the maximum height permitted per Article 18.062. No fence, wall, or hedge shall rise over 3 feet in height within any required front yard. The proposed fence will extend 9 feet into the required front yard of the property. The proposed fence will match the height of the fencing in the side and rear yards, which is taller than the 3 feet of allowable height within the front yard. The property is located at 2313 Colony Trail in the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township and is zoned R1B residential.
Thank you. I don't know how we're going to call or at least recognize who's going to be speaking for the case. But before we do that, is there a staff report?
Yes, sir. I'll read that off to you. So the staff report for Board of Zoning Appeals case 839. Applicants Jennifer and Larry Hudson are requesting a variance related to Article 18.06 of the Beavercreek Township zoning resolution. The applicants wish to erect a fence in a front yard with a height that exceeds the limit in the resolution at the lot located at 2313 Colony Trail. The applicants put forth a compelling reason for requiring the fence within their front yard. It is important to note that the lot in question is a corner lot with frontage on 2 public roads. This means that the lot has 2 required front yards, essentially. The Community Development and Risk Assessment Department recommends that the variance be granted as submitted. The fence plans submitted do not seem to pose any issue with visibility from nearby roads. If the lot in question was not a corner lot, there would be no need for a variance. The side of the fence, essentially the area where they want to put this fence, it would be considered a side yard in most cases except for a corner lot. The applicants indicated that their children regularly play in the backyard, and that one child in particular has behavioral disorders that necessitate a fenced-in area. In addition, the applicants have an existing play set that would need to be moved in order to fence in the play area without granting a variance. Because the proposed fence is not expected to pose any danger to public safety or welfare, and because erecting a fence within the allowable dimensions would present undue hardship to the applicant, this office recommends to the BZA that they grant the variance. Thank you.
Thank you. What we'll do is we will hear anyone speaking for the case tonight, especially the applicant, if they have additional testimony other than what's in their permit, or the permit application rather. Is there someone wishing to speak for the case?
We have the applicants with us. We just need to bring them up.
All right, Larry Hudson, if you can unmute yourself, you'll be able to speak.
Yeah.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes?
Mr. Hudson, real quick, are you and your wife both planning on giving testimony?
Yes, we can.
Sure. Okay, what I need to do is have you swear an oath and we can do both of you at the same time if you'd like. I state your name and address.
I, Larry Hudson, 1934. I'm sorry, that's my work address. 2313 Colony Trail.
Solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make
Solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make
before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals
before the Beavercreek Board of Zoning Appeals
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Mrs. Hudson, did you want to speak as well?
Sure. Not really.
I state your name and address.
I, Jennifer Hudson, 2313 Colony Trail, Beavercreek, Ohio, 45434.
Solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make
Solemnly swear that the statements I'm about to make
before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals
for the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Hudson, go ahead.
Well, I guess we are just planning on putting a privacy fence in the backyard at 6 feet high, and it's really for the security of our son, who is has Down syndrome, and it's for his safety and the rest of the kids as well, so that he has a place to go outside, and you know, if he has issues, then sometimes he goes outside and takes his clothes off, and it will protect him and the other kids. So really, that's what it's for. And it does, you know, go past the edge of the house to avoid some of the trees that we have on the edge of the house. So we're wanting to push it past those trees so we don't have to remove any more of the trees in the backyard. And since it is a corner lot, it is considered, you know, a front yard as well. We do have an HOA, and it was approved by the HOA. It is 38 feet from the curb, so the fence is 38 feet away from the road. So from the curb to the fence is 38 feet. And I suppose that's all that I have.
I have one more comment that was submitted to us just at 6:08 p.m. tonight via email. Kenneth Kuhn, to whom it may concern, myself and family live at 2312 Colony Trail, directly across the street from the Hudsons, and received the public hearing notice for the zoning appeal for Larry and Jennifer Hudson concerning the install of a new fence. I want to go on record and indicate that we have no issue with this appeal and would like to see the Hudsons get their fence they requested. It would be in the best interest of their family. Thanks, Kenneth and Jamie Kuhn.
Aww. So sweet.
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, Mrs. Hudson, did you have anything that you would like to add?
Mrs. Hudson, did you have anything you'd like to add?
No. I mean, the nuts and bolts of it is it's a safety issue for our son. And hopefully it's okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It seems pretty cut and dry.
Thank you.
Since there's no one else speaking for the case, and I do not believe that anyone is against that you have on file or record or has submitted anything.
Not yet. What I'd like to do is ask, so we are streaming this via YouTube Live. I'd like to just take about 30 seconds. We'll ask anybody who may be viewing via YouTube Live if they have comments in opposition of this, to go ahead and make them now. And Randy, if you wouldn't mind typing the same into the YouTube chat. and then we'll just wait for about 30 or 40 seconds as there is a delay. And after that point, we can assume that there are nobody in objection to this.
Unable to connect to the chat.
Thank you.
Just have to chat on the minute.
Yeah.
Is Randy? Next person, if you heard.
Max, we are attempting to bring the chat back up. YouTube has kicked us off the chat, so we're going to try to bring it back up. Stand by just a moment, please.
Thank you, Randy. You got a plane flying overhead.
It's not the generator running, it is the compressor.
Now that sounded like an airplane almost.
It's the Enterprise.
Stand by for just a moment.
Thank you.
Right back to. Tip up to.
For anyone who might need it, seems like an opportune time for a short 1 to 2 minute nature break.
So Alex is assisting me over here, and he does not see anyone providing any kind of comment.
Okay. It looks like
What's the case?
we do not have any comments in opposition or anyone wishing to speak in opposition, so
Max, real quick, what is the case number again?
839.
839, thank you.
Well, if there is no one to speak in opposition, I think I'll close the public portion of this portion of the hearing and open it up to the members of the board.
Thank you, Brent.
Can I ask a question? You've stated that you're going to move the fence 9 feet from the house so you can miss the two trees, and that one tree has the swing on it, right? But you will be moving the swing set. I mean the.
Yes, we're moving a swing set on the inside. There's a play set on the outside, but there's 3 trees with a swing on the inside of the trees.
Okay, that's where you're going to put, right on the other side of that, you're going to put the fence.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that was a yes.
Yes.
Okay, and so that's different than the second paragraph, last sentence of Max's write-up. I didn't understand that sentence anyways, but are you?
Well, there's a swing, like a tire swing from a tree.
Yeah, that stays, but there's a play set.
And then we have a play set that's going to be moved on the inside of the fence.
Okay. I just want to make sure because Max's statement says it's not being moved, and I.
No, it's going to be moved on the inside.
Okay, thank you. So that because I drove by there today just to look at it, and it got me confused when I read these two things. So it's fine. Thank you.
And we've had 8 trees cut down from the backyard already.
Yeah, you don't want to cut any more. I understand that.
No, we don't want to cut no more down.
I am.
Yeah.
John, did you have any comments?
Did we? Hold on, let me,
You're showing four, oh, I see why. I'm the fourth.
John Thomas muted.
What?
There we go.
You there, John?
Yeah, muted, right? No, you participant. I don't want to mute it.
Uh-oh.
John, have you muted yourself?
You know he can unmute him, right? Click on participants.
You got
Max,
me now?
there you go.
You got me now?
Yes, yes.
All right. Yeah, one of these days I'll learn about computers. No, I don't have any questions.
The 9 feet out from the house, encroaching the street, is that the minimum amount you can go? To clear your trees?
Yes, it is the minimum. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Well, with no further questions, anybody wants to try to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the case 839 is approved as submitted. The request for the variance is approved as submitted.
Do we have a second?
I will second that. Emil?
Emil? Okay. So we have the motion that the variance in case number 839 is approved as submitted, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Seeing that there's no more discussion on the motion, go ahead and take a vote.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Martinzik?
Yes?
Mr. Hemrick?
Yes?
Mr. Huntsman?
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Hudson. You've been approved.
All right, thank you.
Yes, normally at this time in the meeting, you would be here and we would have you leave with a handwritten approval until we could get the official one to you. But since we have to do this online now, you'll have to wait till we get the official resolution all typed up and signed and sent out to you.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Folks.
Thanks.
All right.
You.
Goodbye.
Hang out.
Yep.
I believe we're going to be addressing the what was listed as 841, case 841.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we are good.
So, Amy, can you, are you still connected? Can you still hear us and everything?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. All right.
Thanks for hanging in there, Amy.
I need to read the public hearing notice here.
Okay, so
The purpose of the hearing is so the BZA may review and act on a variance request, case 841, made by Amy Leska, who is the authorized agent of property owner Jim Romaine. The nature of the request is to seek a variance on the sign height of a proposed new sign for the Circle K convenience store and gas station.
Very much for coming up
The
here.
variance
I
is
really
required
wish
due
you
to
could have
section
seen what it was
20.082D
doing.
of the zoning resolution. No ground sign shall exceed 6 feet in height from established grade to top of sign structure in the applicable zoning district. The proposed sign height exceeds 6 feet. The property is located at 600 Orchard Lane in the unincorporated area of Beavercreek Township.
Oh, it's in the work session.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a staff report for this case?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Huntsman. We have the staff report for the BZA case number 841.
Well, and that's
Applicant
weird.
Amy Leska is requesting a variance
that
related
go?
to Article 20 of the Beavercreek Township zoning resolution on behalf of property owner Jim Romaine. The applicant wishes to erect a permanent sign at a height not permitted by the limits set forth in the resolution. The lot, located at 600 Orchard Lane, houses a Circle K convenience store and gas station. The applicant has requested a taller sign in order to ensure the sign's visibility from the US 35 roadway. After working with the applicant to ensure that the proposed sign would not conflict with any Ohio Department of Transportation rights-of-way, the Community Development and Risk Assessment Department recommends that the variance be granted as submitted. A number of similar sign height variances have been granted in the past to businesses operating along the US 35 corridor. The sign's proposed location is not within any existing or proposed ODOT rights-of-way. This office is required to send notice to ODOT when any proposed zoning action is within a certain radius of ODOT rights-of-way or proposed street improvements. A letter was sent to ODOT, and they have not responded at the time of this hearing. The zoning resolution requires that the office may not issue a zoning permit related to the case until either we have received confirmation from ODOT or 120 days has passed from the sending of our communication. We recommend that the variance be granted as submitted, even though we will need to wait to issue the actual zoning permit until these requirements are met. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have speaking for the case this evening?
We have Amy Leska.
I'm here.
Okay, Amy, I'm gonna administer the oath to you here. I, name and address.
I, Amy Lessa, from 5563 North Elton Avenue in Chicago, Illinois,
Solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make
843 or 841?
solemnly swear that the statement I am about to make
before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals
before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Nathan in the morning and see if we have.
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope that's all it is.
All right, you can go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. I agree with Max's statement. He's been working with me on this issue and trying for this variance. We're respectfully requesting this variance due to the hardship that we are under with ODOT expanding that road.
So people
We'd like
enter,
to
still
render
entering
a
here.
new sign for the visibility from US 12, 6, and 35.
Okay. Are you thinking about putting a monitor, having someone come down to monitor? You know,
It may be
people in
worth
and out
pointing
here,
out
10
here,
people,
this is
something
at
like that.
Amrine,
Might be an
that
idea.
this particular Circle K is actually losing what I would characterize as their main sign in front of the building because of the acquisition of right-of-way by ODOT. And so this request represents the best estimate of consultants and the Circle K Corporation as a replacement for that sign that they're about to lose.
I mean, if they want to speak.
So this has come up now because ODOT is moving forward with utilities relocation, and they're going to lose power shortly to their existing
but
primary
you don't want
sign
that as
on the
a-
corner.
As a,
So that's why this is necessary in the first place.
well, I'm checking the PowerPoint. If anything needs to be brought up.
Not on the lot public hearing, but
Okay. Right. Okay.
The applicant that was speaking for the case itself, how in the comments that were made by
you and Don would just have to sit
and
someplace else.
the
Put
staff,
Don in the corner and.
it sounds as though the only place to put the sign is where you have it on the drawings in the application. Is that correct?
Did you
That's
hear?
correct.
Oh,
Okay. Underneath
Again,
the
thank you.
sign,
all right, cool.
I believe it's being put into an area with a number of easements for utilities.
I was.
Is that
I didn't
going to be
sweat,
a
but it was
concern,
getting
or
sweaty
is that
down
going to be
here.
a problem in erecting the
You know,
sign?
normally I can fix stuff and break it and do all that kind of stuff. I was panicking a little bit there. Oh
Sorry,
shit! This
it's
is
a little
going.
muffled, but I just want to make sure
Can we move her
understanding the
closer?
question.
Hang on, Brett. I'm going to move her closer. Okay, ask your question again, Brett.
The looking as though the sign, the new sign location is about the only place that you have to put it out there to stay out of the right-of-way areas. I did notice on the drawings in the application that that is an easement area for underground utilities. Is that going to be a problem for the construction of the sign?
No, it should not be a problem. We would have
I don't think there's any utilities there at the moment.
utilities out there if you want.
Hey Brent, I think that's actually saying that's maybe a newly created easement for signs and utilities as needed in the future. I don't think there's any utilities there at the moment. It says public utility and signage easement. That's a new line that's been created, I would say, since the land's been acquired by for the intersection, don't you think? That's probably been moved back.
Well, I really can't tell, to be honest.
And then what would be the footage on either side of that? What would be the measurement on either side of that line for the easement? It really doesn't make a lot of sense when it says it's, you know, how wide is that easement?
Well, and in any case, before construction plans are approved by the Greene County Department of Building Regulation, those easements are going to have to be checked out. The holders of any easements, if there are any, will be contacted, and any adjustments needed to the location of the sign pad or underground wiring serving the sign would have to be made. So I don't really believe we're in any danger of throwing a backhoe shovel into the ground and breaking a gas main. I think there are sufficient safeguards in place to prevent that kind of occurrence that are beyond, frankly, beyond the township responsibility or authority to regulate.
Agreed, and it wasn't the idea that this was a bad location or we were being concerned about a potential explosion or anything of that nature. It's just I want to be sure that if this was granted and if they come back and state that this is, this isn't doable, we have to move it, we have to put it somewhere else. I'm just trying to avoid that at this time.
I see, thank you.
Yeah, public utility and signage easement. So it seems to me that if the sign gets put in before any utilities come through there, that the utilities would have to work around the sign. Would you agree with that?
Okay. Yeah.
Right, unless they're already there. Right.
Okay. Yeah, and they would find that out when they went to locate it.
Okay. Did any of the other board members have a questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I do. Is there a change in elevation from where the existing sign is to where the new sign is? Is that going to be a lower elevation that warrants a higher sign for visibility? If it's the same elevation, why do they need a bigger sign?
It's set back significantly further from the roadway.
I understand it's going to be a setback, but it's set back where it is now to be seen from 35. If it's the same height, then it's going to be elevation-wise, it's the same plane. Why do they need a taller sign other than they want to be seen further down 35 than it is now?
Well, if you notice, John, they're not going to be seen really from down 35. The sign, according to the drawing I'm looking at, parallels almost parallels 35.
And
It's not 90 degrees to the highway is what I'm saying.
yeah, okay, and if that's the case, if it's the same elevation, why do they need a higher sign? If the ground is a cell elevation and you're facing the same thing, you're going to have the same appearance as you're driving by, why does it have to be taller?
Well, it's not simply a matter that the sign is going to be further from the roadway. Within that increased distance from the roadway will be 2 additional lanes of traffic, obscuring a ground sign from many of the passers-by and many of the people, frankly, who are in a position to pull into that parcel, who are not simply whizzing by on Route 35, but people have to be given a chance to make adjustments if that's where they want to pull off. So it's not just that they're further from the road, it's that there's lots of traffic going to be inserted there between them and the sign.
I guess maybe I'm still having a hard time at it because I don't care if you have 4 lanes, 3 lanes, 2, you know, as I'm going by and a sign is facing me parallel, if I'm on the curb lane per se, I can see the sign. The one that's in the outside lane with me, I've got him blocked. You can't see it anyway. That's the existing sign. And that's the same argument for the new sign. Now, is the height of 35 going to be raised? You know, I need to get a feel that there's a reason other than they're moving the sign that they need a taller sign.
Well, other factors that are at work here.
There's a wall that's going through.
No, there's not a significant difference in elevation, in ground elevation from one location of the sign to the other. And there's not a significant increase in the elevation of the roadway. Some, but not significant. I think that, you know, you don't often hear a zoning official arguing on the basis of precedence, but here we go. We have consistently, as a board, approved these variances on both sides of Route 35 over the years, to the point where functionally we've altered the code, and we've allowed a 15-foot high sign directly across Orchard Lane at the former Lang's Cadillac dealership or Chevy dealership. 15 feet has been our practice limit for these signs. Dealerships from Kia to Toyota to Phillips to Germain have all adhered to exactly the same standard. And so short of an actual text amendment to the zoning resolution, I think there's a fairness principle at work here in our recommendation that this variance be approved.
Can I also state something? There's going to be my guesstimate is a 3-foot wall in the middle of Route 35. If you're on the north side of 35 going westbound, it'll be tough to read that sign over at Circle K if it's on the ground.
That's the best argument I've heard about this.
Okay. The other thing is the new sign is actually smaller in square footage.
Right, I understand that.
I like that. Is this going to be Amy, is this going to be a one-sided sign?
No, it'll be a double-sided sign.
Okay. Really wouldn't have to be because you're already at the gas station when you're looking at the other side of it.
Well, I took a drive by there today and I took pictures of 7 signs that were 10 feet or taller. And as Ed was pointing out, somebody gave a lot of variances out, and it's, you know, almost at a point where you don't want to. If you start here, we got to go back and you gave a variance out, so you can't take away signs. It's sort of weird that if we have this, I don't know how we start. I agree with Ed. I don't know how we stop this from happening, because we've already agreed to it many times before.
We don't want to make that argument on record. That's telling you right now.
You may say that, but I just went around taking pictures, and I mean every darn sign is taller, 10 feet or taller.
Yeah, but how many times in the last year have we sat down and said we cannot use what we've made in the past?
Oh, no, that's exactly right.
We kept one sign down low. Yeah, I know that.
It's a tricky argument, I acknowledge, and as a zoning official, I make it with a lot of hesitation. I don't like arguing precedents when it comes to.
Another thing to remember about that shorter sign is there's going to be vehicles in front of it on that access road to Tractor Supply. At times, we'll be blocking the view of the sign as people are going by or approaching it. So another reason why I think they wanted to go up instead of out.
Well, my only concern when I was asking is the reason and the logic for the taller sign. And the 3-foot wall, Leo, I think is an excellent argument for it. I just didn't want to say, okay, we're going to give them a taller sign because they're moving it and there's taller signs around.
Okay.
I
agree.
I wanted a reason why it had to be taller.
Okay.
Amy, do you have anything to add to that discussion? Okay.
Okay, the applicant has explained what they want, and we've discussed it. We did not give any time for people wishing to speak against the application. So is there anyone that has logged in to YouTube?
Hang on a sec, Brent, we'll check on that. Randy, have we got anybody?
So I just made a chat comment out to please provide any comments to case number 841. So if we want to give about a minute or two, we'll see if anybody responds back.
Absolutely, thank you.
Next question, please.
Since we're in just a little bit of a delay, I'll wait 1 minute from now.
Because other than posting the price of gas on the sign, there's Circle K on the canopy. So, but there's no price on the canopy, I don't think.
Right. They're only down on the machine. And on this sign.
They'd be better off going wanting to put the price up on the canopy and you see it better.
I do not see anybody making comments online. If you'd like to close the public hearing or the public portion of the comments, we can.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and we will close the public testimony portion of this case hearing. And is there any more discussion amongst the board members? Hearing no discussion. Could we, someone offer a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance request by variance request case 841. Approved as presented. Approved as presented.
Okay, motion made. Is there a second?
You have a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion has been seconded.
Who seconded the, was it John? Was that you, John, that seconded?
That was,
Okay, thank you.
now I can't vote against it.
Oh, yes, you can. All right, the motion's been made, it's been seconded, and we're done with discussion. Let's go ahead and call vote.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Cameron?
Yes.
Mr. Huntsman?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Leska, we congratulate you on your approval. We're going to go ahead and let you go now. As Lori said to the previous applicant, we'll be in touch with a signed and official copy of the variance approval. So look out for communications here in the next week or so.
Oh, well, it has to be signed by the chair, so whenever yeah.
So it might take a little bit longer than it typically would to get you your copy, but we'll be working on that for you, okay?
All right, I'll be patient. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Okay, before we start the next, I've got a question. Since I am a resident of the Stonehill development, is there going to be a conflict of interest on this case coming up?
Dawn?
Yes.
I don't think just because you live in Stonehill Village, that makes it a conflict. I mean, if you are within the 500 feet, or if you feel as though you can't, objectively hear the case, then you may want to recuse yourself. But if you're not within the 500 feet, just because you live in Stonehill Village, I don't think that in and of itself makes a conflict.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're good. You don't have any problems with being objective. Okay. I will note that in the minutes that you made people aware that you are a resident of Stonehill Village. So.
Okay, thank you.
All righty.
This is number 840. Would you read it for us?
I will do that, sir. Hang on just a sec. Let me grab the public hearing. All right. The purpose of the hearing is so the BZA may review and act on a conditional use request, case 840, made by TEB Realty, LLC, which is the authorized agent of property owner Kerwin Pink, LLC. The nature of the request is to seek the conditional use of a 99-bed nursing home with possible expansion to 110 beds on a new 20-acre parcel within Stonehill Village PUD. The applicant is seeking a land use that is not principally permitted per the Stonehill Village PUD restrictions and covenants. The property is situated along the north side of Dayton-Xenia Road, approximately 1,700 feet west of the intersection of Trayvine Road. A lot split from within Zone 3 of the Stonehill Village PUD revised master plan will result in a new 20-acre parcel.
Thank you. Who do we have speaking for the application today?
That would be me. This is Ed here. And bear with me, this is kind of a long staff report. Most the members of the board should have received this. Before you is an application from Healthcare Management Group, which will be the developer. Have we pulled them back into the discussion?
Yeah, they are all still in the lobby here.
For a conditional use permit to construct a long-term care and rehabilitation facility on a site within the Stonehill Village planned unit development. The plan will require the subdivision of a parcel in Zone 3 of the master plan for Stonehill Village, and the facility is being planned for a new 20-acre parcel just east of and adjacent to the Coy Trayvine School site. The master plan for Stonehill Village planned unit development as revised on February 22nd, 2016 divides the remaining undeveloped land in Stonehill Village into 4 zones. Zones 1, 2, and 4 to the east of Treybine Road and Harlow Lane are designated for residential development. Zone number 3 is in the southwest part of the PUD and is bound by the Coy Treybine schools to the west, Dayton Xenia Road to the south, Harlow Lane and Treybine Road to the east, and Claiborne Greens to the north. The master plan calls for zone number 3 to feature both residential and non-residential development, namely, and this is a quote from the trustee resolution approving the revision to the master plan, a mix of retail, business, office, community services, and institutional public uses. Commercial uses will focus on small-scale local neighborhood stores. Office space will be marketed as professional office medical office use. Community public uses could include a church site, branch library, etc. That's to quote directly from case number 671-9, again from February 2016. In consultation with staff, legal counsel for both the applicant and the township agreed that because long-term care facilities are not specifically mentioned in the legislation approving the master plan revision, the permit approval should go to a public process and that the BZA would be the correct body to decide the appropriateness of the use and to establish any conditions that the township wishes to impose upon that use. The plan before you depicts a single-story building in the shape of an X that would accommodate 99 beds initially and could contain up to 110 beds should the need arise, without the need to expand the building. The applicant has submitted a detailed description of the plans included in this packet. Our primary consideration today is whether this is an appropriate use of the land. If so, we must then decide whether to impose conditions on that land use, whether general or site-specific. Some of the recommendations from the staff. Staff feels that the use is appropriate. Whether one thinks of a care facility as medical, commercial, or institutional, all such uses are identified in the master plan approved by the trustees in 2016. The plan submitted is consistent, therefore, with the master plan and is thus compliant with the Beavercreek Township zoning resolution with regard to the use of that property. Concerns. We know that the site is served by water, sewer, and electric service. Secondary utilities such as phone, cable, fiber optics, etc. are either on site or nearby. The applicant will leave existing stands of trees on the north end of the property undisturbed, so there's ample distance and buffering to Claiborne Greens. The roadways and other access features of the plan seem adequate, however, they do not exist now. The plan calls for construction of a 2-lane access road to Dayton Xenia Road to be constructed by Stonehill Village and available to this property via an easement. I'll stop here and say that an easement would necessarily be temporary given the fact that that roadway is intended to be publicly dedicated. So it wouldn't be by easement for long. Once the dedication is made and it's a township road, it would be a public right-of-way. The plan also depicts a road intersecting with said access road and connecting to the east to Treybine Road. That road would also, by the way, be a public roadway to be publicly dedicated. If both roads are constructed at the same time as the care facility, the facility will have both frontage on the east-west road to Treybine Road and 2 access points to the property. Without construction of the connection to Treybine Road, the proposed parcel is landlocked. with access only by way of an easement. We do not know what the plans are for the construction of these roads. Let me say that I had a conversation with Mr. Nutter just today, who articulated in that conversation that his intention is to have these roads, both of the roads built by the time this long-term care facility is open. I don't have any legal commitment to that, but I want to note that that's a comment that I received just today from the developer of Stonehill Village. So what now? Given the extraordinary societal circumstances in which this hearing has taken place, and given our need and desire to make sure that all voices wishing to speak are heard, staff is recommending that this hearing be continued to a later date. That is, that we hear comments, all the comments generated by tonight's meeting, and then make a decision at a later date. If the board will set a time and date, I'm recommending about 2 weeks from now. We will have time to collate and circulate all comments received, and the applicant will be able to respond and to propose revisions to the application if they are desired. At the continuation of the public hearing, the board can act on the application to approve, deny, or approve with conditions. Staff will have a detailed set of recommendations at that time. So what's next? I just want everyone to be aware that if the conditional use permit is granted, that's just the first step in this process. The next step will be the submittal of a specific site plan as described in the Beavercreek Township Zoning Resolution, Article 17.07.5. This will involve detailed engineering reports of all aspects of the site and will require review and recommendation by the Zoning Commission at a public hearing and review and final decision by the Board of Township Trustees at their own public hearing. Review and approval of various aspects of the plans by various Greene County agencies, including the engineer, sanitary engineer, soil and water, all coordinated by Greene County Regional Planning and Coordinating Commission, will commence with final approval of the development plans on lot split resting with the Greene County Board of County Commissioners. So there's going to be a lot of exposure of these plans over the next number of months, at least 2 more public hearings beyond, if the board agrees to continue this hearing, beyond the continuation of this hearing, there will be at least 2 more public hearings and lots of opportunity for everyone's voice to be heard. But those are the staff recommendations. We feel that it's pretty clear that the actual use of the property for a long-term care and rehabilitation facility is allowed by the Beavercreek Township zoning resolution, but that the details have yet to be ironed out, and we need our specific site plan approval process to do that, and we will have that. So that's what I have to say. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer any of them.
I think we'll hold our questions for you, Ed, for a little bit, but we would like now to have who's going to be speaking for the case.
Greg, that would be you, I guess.
Yes, and Buck
Let me go
Withers.
ahead and administer the oath to you, sir.
Okay.
I, name and address,
I, Gregory Miller, 12500 Reed Hartman Highway.
solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make
Solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make
before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals
before the Beavercreek Township Zoning Board of Appeals
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My name is, as I said, Greg Miller. I am the Executive Vice President of the Healthcare Management Group. We operate 7 facilities in Greater Cincinnati, Middletown, and Northern Kentucky. We are a family-owned, operated business and have been for over 45 years, operating in the greater Cincinnati area. Our two newest facilities, Covenant Village, which is located in Green Township on the west side of Cincinnati, and Arlington Point, which is located in Middletown, are prototypes for what we are proposing to build here in Beavercreek Township. Just to give you an idea of some of the amenities in the way our buildings are structured, we offer all private rooms with full-size Tempur-Pedic mattresses, refrigerators, granite countertops, private showers and bathrooms, and individual suites for each client. We have state-of-the-art rehab, which helps our residents return to their home. Most of the residents that will be coming will go home after a short stay. However, we'll be able to take care of long-term patients as well. We expect to create over 100 jobs in Beavercreek Township, and our investment into the community with the building will be in excess of $12 million. Just to give you an idea of how we operate in our business, when we've built our other facilities, we go into a community and look at it as more of a partnership. And some of the things we have done is we've constructed baseball fields, basketball courts in neighborhoods. We've, for over 45 years, delivered Thanksgiving meals to the communities we've been in: Sharonville, Green Township, Middletown areas, to name a few. We become involved in the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotaries, in the local community agencies. We have various community events. We've done Easter egg hunts, Christmas tree lightings, parades, and so forth and so on. While I'm aware that Stonehill Village has many of these amenities, this is just to give you a feel for who we are. We're not a large national corporation or chain. We are a locally owned and operated facilities. We've become part of the community that we join, and we look forward to doing the same here in Beavercreek Township.
Thank you.
The architects who designed the drawings, I don't know if you can put those on the screen, are also Roger Nash and Walter Withers, who may have something to add as well.
Yeah, give me just a moment to put those up, okay? So, here is the artist rendering that we have. Everyone can see that, yes?
Yes.
Excellent. And then we also have the revised, I don't know what you want to call this, a preliminary site plan?
Yes, it's a kind of a drone view of the site plan where you can see the school off to the east. Yeah, the west. I'm sorry, the west. To the north, the buffer zone where virtually there's no, you wouldn't even know anything is to the north based on the buffer zone that's being created. The access drive would come in approximately, without it being designed, where the canopy is, somewhere along in there.
Somewhere along in this area?
Well, that maybe it's on a delay because yes, right, somewhere along in the front, obviously, right along there.
It's actually, if you see the site plan.
Okay, gentlemen, I need to interrupt you. If both of you going to speak?
Most likely. So yeah.
Okay, I need to get you to take my oath, if you would.
Okay.
Whichever one of you wants to start first.
I'll start.
Okay, I name and address.
I, Walter Withers, 1250 Chambers Road, Columbus, Ohio.
Solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make.
Solemnly swear that the statements that I'm about to make.
Before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals.
Before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals.
Are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Is your partner there going to speak as well?
Yes, this is Roger Nash.
Okay, Mr. Nash, I, name and address,
I, Roger Nash, 1250 Chambers Road, Columbus, Ohio,
solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make
solemnly swear that the statements I am about to make
before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals
before the Beavercreek Township Board of Zoning Appeals
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
are the truth to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just going to point out that because of some existing, because of the existing easements and power lines and some kind of green area on the site, the entry drive would be actually just off to the, is not right on center with that entrance canopy. It's kind of hidden by that clump of trees in the in the middle left there. But it does, you know, if you would flip to the site plan, you'd see, you know, where it's located.
Gotcha, okay.
So the entrance is hidden behind these trees here.
I see. So I see the entrance is kind of right over here.
Kind of right over there. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that we necessarily have anything else to add at this point. We, you know, provided a project narrative as part of the application, kind of explaining about the type of facility it is, which Greg covered as well. We might just point out also that it's, you know, this would be a licensed as a skilled nursing facility by the Ohio Department of Health and meet all the requirements, you know, building code, life safety code, et cetera, required by the Ohio Department of Health and the federal Medicare and Medicaid regulations.
We're also aware of the Stonehill Village covenants on exterior finishes and of the like, and are prepared to, you know, abide by those as well.
One of the things that I'd like to point out, this is Walter Withers, is that when we design a facility like this, we're mindful of the neighbors, and we try to keep the image as close to residential as we can, and using typical residential materials. In this case, we have brick and siding, and in our planning of the facility, we try to cluster the resident wings off of a central core so that we can keep the corridors as short as we possibly can, just for the benefit of the residents and staff. So what we think we are presenting here is something that meets our own test of appearing residential and not institutional.
And it is just a one-story building. You know, to the peak of the roof would be maybe 30 feet at the most, probably not even that. But it's all done with, you know, you know, gable roofs with shingles and, like Buck said, brick and siding, and a nice job of landscaping, and, you know, make it look nice on the site.
How long does it take to construct something of this size?
Did you hear the question, gentlemen?
Yes. It's typically 12 months, maybe slightly less.
That's from groundbreaking. The actual just physical construction as we all know, there's quite a long-term bit of planning and development of the drawings, and working through various agencies. You know, obviously working with all the, you know, regional planning and sanitary sewer and all those kind of things. That, you know, that can take from 6 to 12 months too, depending on you know, just depending on the size of the project. But once we break ground, yeah, 12 months is about right.
I'm sure we're going to have a number of questions for you here just a little bit later on. But is there anyone else that wishes to speak for the case? Okay, if there's no one else speaking for the case, is there anyone that would like to comment against or have other information that they would like to present?
So, Randy, I don't know if you're able to post something in the YouTube chat, letting people know that they can. So what we're gonna try to do again, because we'd like to give any residents who wish to speak a chance to actually be heard. We feel like the YouTube comment limitations and the 250 character limit do not present a sufficient opportunity. So what we're going to do is we're going to have anybody who wishes to comment or to speak at the if the meeting is continued, who wish to speak at that meeting, to send an email to comments@beavercreektownship.org, and I'm going to put that up on the screen, or rather in the chat of this meeting, so that folks can see it. It's going to be comments@beavercreektownship.org. That is going to be the email address where citizens who feel that the YouTube comments section does not meet their needs will be able to send an email with their name and address. And what we will do is, if the meeting is continued, we will give them a video link, such as the applicants and other people who are speaking for have gotten. And we feel like that kind of is just the fair thing to do. If the applicants who are speaking for have the ability to speak with you via video, then we believe anyone speaking against should have that ability as well. Technical limitations kept us from being able to do that this evening in the amount of time that we had to prepare. So we're part of the reason why the staff recommendation included a continuation is for this reason. So we're going to go ahead. I think, Randy, I'm imagining you're getting folks commenting on YouTube at the moment. Is that correct?
Actually, no, we do not at this moment have any comments. I'm going to send out a message if the board decides to continue the hearing, that we will have a place for them to present comments.
I know it was indicated to us via phone calls and a visit to the office from residents that there were concerns. Randy, maybe, or did we lose you there?
No, I'm sorry. I might have muted myself. As I was stating, I don't see any comments specifically at this time. However, I'm ready to post please provide comments to the comments@beavercreektownship.org if the board chooses to decide to continue the meeting.
Okay, why don't we give that a little bit of time to see if we do get some responses? But in the meantime, I think the board members have some questions associated with what has been presented so far. And I will start with the question of the actual access to the facility. That on the application, it showed the second roadway going in, coming from the high school or from the grade school area. Can somebody elucidate on that a little bit more? Because that's highly not normal, I guess you would call it.
I'll speak to that. That was, again, this was kind of a very, schematic site plan at this point. And that was kind of our first crack at we heard the comment that the fire department or the township would like a secondary access point. So that was kind of our first crack at, well, here's, this looks like kind of a logical place. Let's take a look at that. But, since that time, since we actually made the application, there's been some comments from the, I guess, through the grapevine that the schools were probably not going to be in favor of that. So we did not show it. We did not end up showing it on this colored site plan, with the understanding that, we'll have to work out another access point somehow, whether that's, the road over to Tribine Road or what. But at this point, we didn't try to resolve that.
However, it did sound like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Ed did have a discussion, so maybe there's a new development to that we can.
Something like this, Will?
Yeah, but the conditional use meeting is so that we can put conditions on it. So we need these questions answered.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're not trying to design the thing, but
right.
We might want to put some conditions on there. Requirements, whatever.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Also, you're keeping the green area to the north, based on the rendering it's on the screen right now. Is the stormwater going to be shunted to the north up into that area?
This is Roger Nash again. In discussing this, just kind of briefly with Mitch Kosler, who's the surveyor and civil engineer that's done, all the work for Bob Nutter and for this whole PUD. Just in kind of he was pointing out that this kind of all naturally drains to the south down to the river. I guess there's an existing culvert under Dayton Senior Road, kind of, near these power lines on the west side. So it sounds like runoff, stormwater and detention would be probably more towards the southwest corner of the parcel, and come down and go under Dayton Senior Road. I guess even the school property has, I believe, underground stormwater detention chambers that then are metered out and flow to this same culvert that goes eventually then down to the river.
Okay. I believe I read in the 2016 description of the number 3 area for this whole development that there was going to be between where your proposed facility's at and the existing homes up to the north, that there was going to be some type of water anemone to put together. So I was wondering if your runoff was going to be part of that, or was going to be in conflict with it.
Brent, this is Ed speaking. That was mentioned by Mr. Nutter both in, 1990, but also in the revision of the master plan in 2016, that he anticipated that the creek that sort of flows under Dayton Senior Road right at the corner of Trayvine and Hilltop would be developed into a water feature that flows through the various properties. I'm not sure, we can't possibly know at this time whether that will be needed for this particular 20-acre parcel. I do have some indication from the engineer's office that, of course, they're going to be eventually doing a very careful review of stormwater calculations and stormwater management plans, but they're very happy with what the schools have done. And on that 50-acre parcel with lots more impervious surface, they've gotten excellent results from dry wells. And I expect that that kind of feature will be a really important component of the stormwater management plan for this site. But those details won't be available to us till we get to the site plan approval process.
Right. I guess in looking at that language in the 2016 master plan, this zone 3 talked, this kind of talked about this water feature type of thing in what's termed the village center, which I think is mainly to the east of where we are a little bit, kind of in that little triangle between Trabine and Hilltop and what's the third, Harlow Lane, I guess. Kind of at least from the verbiage, the way I understood it, that was kind of the focus of kind of developing a village center type of thing that talked about this water feature, landscape, stream area, etc.
Well, as Ed stated, yeah, you're going to need to work out a lot of specifics dealing with the preparation of the properties and the running of the utilities and that. I'm sure that's coming, but I'm just looking at it from the 30,000 foot view. Are you going to be doing something that is going to be a detriment to the other portions of the development, the Stonehill Village?
Right. No, nothing. I don't know of anything that we would do. Certainly not planning anything that would be in conflict with the overall master plan, or the the covenants or the language in that existing PUD.
Okay.
Are you going to? Hello, go ahead.
Back to the access to the facility itself, the two roads that Ed was talking about, has that been considered to be built during the same period of time that you'll be building this facility?
That's the indication I got from Mr. Nutter this afternoon. Of course, that's not set in stone or planned, but I do know that there are preliminary cost estimates already floating around. So I think that it seems to me that the developer of Stonehill Village is moving ahead with those plans. We'll have to lock that down with either with conditions now or conditions at the site plan approval process, so that we're satisfied that 2 access points will be available at some point that satisfies the township. I can't predict what is going to be, how that condition is going to be expressed, but it'll definitely be there.
If we continue this meeting, because there's a lot of unanswered questions, and we also need to take in consideration other people's comments that we're going to be receiving through the email. What type of time frame are you going to need as the developer or for the conceptual design to change any of the things that we're talking about now? Is this something that's going to have to languish for a month or so? And if that's the case, maybe
not here to design it. We're here to put conditions on a conditional use for this use. Is that what we're here for? We're not here to approve drainage plans and design the drainage plan. I thought we're here to put conditions on what we're presented with tonight.
And that's where I'm coming from. We can't accurately put the conditions or make a statement that this would meet the requirements for a conditional use, because we don't know what they're going to be proposing as being acceptable to meet our regulations.
Well, we don't.
And the drainage was just because of the master plan it sounded as though it was in conflict with what they were proposing with the drainage. But the access is a very good case in point that if they don't have the two roads going in and out off of Dayton Senior as well as Trayvine, that would never meet. I mean, we couldn't even use that as a condition of building this facility because it would never meet our regulations.
Well, but getting where Leo said, that's not what we're really looking here. We're looking at is the land, can we give them the request that they have with some whatever changes we might want to apply, but we're not really dealing with the stuff that is either a county regulation or even a township regulation that they have to apply, which drainage, access roads and all that, if they don't have it right, they'll never get approved to build it, if I understand how it works. My question is to them, and Ed, we may be the one that can steer it. They only have a year, or the decree, from the time we issue and approve the request to build, correct? And if it gets tied up in planning stages and all that, they come back.
That's true, John. The conditional use permit, when granted, requires action towards, how shall I put it, realization of the use that was applied for. How that's interpreted could mean steady progress towards approval of the site plan. It could mean, it doesn't necessarily always mean dirt being moved on the ground, as long as, excuse me, the plans are not simply lying fallow with nothing happening to them. As long as progress is being made, I think I would be happy to interpret the permit as being active.
Hey, Brent, we're not on this board. I guess where I'm at with this is they're trying to get a conditional use permit approved down the road. If we extend this meeting on, they need a conditional use permit granted to proceed with all the other plans and drawings and inspections and requirements that are tacked onto this by all the other entities.
This is Greg Miller again, if I may, for 1 second. That is typically, historically, in our other projects. We'll get the conditional use, and then we will go through the process of all the other departments, working with them to get the approvals needed to meet all the requirements.
Right. And we can put conditions on it tonight, continue the meeting, and then if we see additional information, when we get back together, we can add additional conditions, correct?
Right.
We're not stuck with just the conditions we put on it tonight.
We're not closing the public hearing tonight.
Right.
If you agree.
We can add or delete once we see a little bit more down the road and get comments from the neighbors. We might put additional comments on it, or we might conditions, or we might take conditions off based on what we hear.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the right way to go. I think Ed, in the staff's recommendation about extending this hearing for at least 2 weeks in time to get the public's input. And that way we can sit down there and really look at what they want, and then we can start adding any conditions once we get all the information from the area.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few conditions. I mean, I have some questions anyway tonight that I'd like to get answered. If we don't get to putting any conditions on it tonight, we just want to be able to make sure that adding conditions at a later date is going to be a possibility.
Absolutely, make everybody aware of them, Leo.
Right. So.
What questions? Go ahead. Yeah.
So is it time for us to ask questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So I heard something about there was going to be 2 access points into this property when it's all said and done. Off of the new road and off of Dayton Xenia. Somebody's requesting or requiring 2 access points. Is that the fire department?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So they'll have both access points, I guess, will come in from basically the south side of the building complex, which isn't shown right now, off the new road that doesn't exist yet. Okay. Can we put a condition on that the roads have to be built at the same time? Can that condition be put on? Is that something where
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so I keep that in the back of my mind.
And that would be something for the continued meeting.
Right.
When we.
Right. I can add it at the next meeting. No sense in putting any conditions on tonight. I know it's probably a mute issue, but putting the emergency access over onto the school property, absolutely, positively, no. That's not going to fly. Our taxpayers would not appreciate that, I don't think, of our schools. Turn lanes. There's several developments in Beavercreek that should have put turn lanes in to their developments. I don't know who's in charge of that or if that can be a condition we put on, but there absolutely positively has got to be turn lanes on Dayton Xenia Road. Ankeny Road's a perfect example. They widen the road. When they put the schools in, they put no turn lane from eastbound Dayton Xenia onto Ankeny. Absolutely crazy.
Leo, I'm not sure, but that comes through your county highway department and usage and everything else. I don't think we could recommend it, but I don't think we can require it.
Can't make it a condition. Okay, if we can pass that on, I know in the city of Beavercreek, every case that comes before them for development, they get some free road work out of the developer in turn lanes, in widening the road, putting in the sidewalks, and the township needs to start getting some of that free work too. I call it free work, but it's included. It's included in and paid for by the developer of the property in question.
Well, and that's probably why you didn't get it there by the school, because that was a Beavercreek school system on that responsibility for the schools. Well, no, maybe a little bit more open.
Right. The retention pond thing, usually on every development we ever see, there's retention ponds all over the crazy drawing, and there's none on here at all. So I don't know if that's because they might do an underground storage area or what. I do agree that most of this property drains to the south quite well. And then I noticed, is it true that Stonehill Village will maintain all the green space around this and pay for the maintenance of the green space around this development? on the open space legend on the overall site plan. They've got open space on adjacent parcels in approved Stonehill Village concept plan. And I read somewhere on here where that would all be maintained, the green space will be maintained by Stonehill Village. Who is paying for that?
I think that is yet to be determined.
Okay.
Where did mine?
And all the green space appears to be, the majority of it, under the power lines, which, okay. I read that somewhere, that they would make, must have been in that packet. So I don't know how you enforce that, but.
Well, that was actually some language, this is Roger Nash, that was actually some language in the, approved master plan in 2016 that the Stonehill Village HOA, or whatever you want to call it, would be responsible for maintaining the green space. Now, I don't know that we addressed that. We showed the green space as it was identified on that master plan and kept it in place. Whether this current, whether our client, who's the property owner for this parcel, would want to work out something different with Stonehill Village, that's unanswered at this point.
Yes, I don't understand how the HOA would want to maintain all the green space on your property. That's my question.
Yeah, I don't think that was the intent at all. The buffer areas that are around they maintain now, like common space and so forth, would be, but I don't think we intend, or they intend to plow our driveway or mow our lawn or.
I understand, but that will be a concern from people who email in on how this place is going to look and how it's going to be maintained, because all those houses up in there are all maintained very well.
If you and the board want to
so
see
just, and the other thing I wanted to ask is,
look for,
and it will be a condition, is that the existing woods will absolutely, positively be left untouched.
Yes.
With a silt fence installed during construction.
I'm in the bottom right-hand corner, period.
And taped off to keep the bulldozers out and all of that. We gotta make sure that is not disturbed.
Yes, we understand that.
Okay, all right. That will be a condition, I'm sure.
One question I have is, has it been talked about or a concern of the butting up to the school as far as keeping children away from the area around the home, or residents walking away going to there? Are you going to look at putting a barrier or necessary some sort of fencing?
There's already a fence around the school itself on the external most
ring road
part of the property of the on the outside of the ring road around the school. There's already a chain link fence that I think is pretty significant. Also, that eastern section of the school property actually gets quite a lot of use. There's a very large playground area on that side, on the north side of the parking lot. The parking lot itself, that's on the easternmost portion of the school, is well used as a bus loading and unloading zone. So it's been, and there's another reason not to use it as an emergency access point, is that it's often clogged with, I would say, dozens, sometimes at a time, school buses waiting to load or unload children. So, and then the other factor is that the schools just received a permit to put an additional modular building up to accommodate classrooms for their 5th grade in property. That's it, right there, just between the two parking lots. So that part of the school property is going to be more and more and more active, and that means more and more supervised as time goes on. I'm not sure that in combination with the overhead power, 2 sets of overhead high tension lines, that there's any more need for this property to be responsible for any more barriers. But that's not for me to say. That if that's a condition that this board wants to impose, so be it.
That's 150 feet.
But there is a chain link fence all the way around the school.
And this is an observation for the builder and developer. You guys are going to make sure you got plenty of soundproofing so you don't wake your patients up on Friday and Saturday night with Kill Care running.
What?
We understand there's a raceway across the.
Yeah, it gets very loud there. In that spring and summer and fall.
Well, I appreciate you letting us know that. We'll take that into consideration.
It was there first.
That's over to the east about a mile, is that right?
That's about right, as the crows fly.
Yes, that's the crow flies.
Mile and a half.
Over the river and through the woods. Right?
It's probably a little more than a mile.
And if the wind's blowing the right way, you can tell they're running.
Right.
Hey, that's free entertainment.
It is. Hey, I live every Friday and Saturday.
Now I noticed the school does have a track, but there's not like a football stadium there or anything, correct?
No.
Soccer fields and track.
And baseball.
That's not correct. There is a football field there. That's where the middle school teams play football.
Okay, but there's not a big Friday night crowd for that probably.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Mr. Huntsman?
Yes.
This is Randy Grogan. We have had 2 questions or comments on the live chat, but I know we haven't gotten to the public hearing portion, or you guys haven't any continuance, but I just wanted to let you know that there were 2 questions up.
Thank you. This whole process is a wee bit awkward. I don't know how you could even hear me because I have this huge screeching sound every time I talk. I think we understand what they want to do, and that there'll probably be very shortly some changes to what has been submitted in the application. Why don't we consider not putting any type of conditional uses on at this point in time until we get the comments from the public and we're able to review them and we're able to let the applicant go back and re-look at what some of the things that we have talked about, and that perhaps they can have a better, more in-depth answers for us when we decide that if we are going to let this be a conditional use, these will be some of the conditions that they'll have to deal with, and to see if it's doable. So with that said, would any of the other members of the committee have questions for the applicant? But if you don't, let's make the motion for a continuance until 10 days or 2 weeks from today, perhaps Wednesday the 8th of June, in order to resume this, maybe under some better conditions where everyone can participate and we hear and act on all of the comments that have been made between now and that time.
Dawn, I have a question first, a procedural question. Should we open the public hearing before anyone moves a continuance?
I think we should hear those people. so you have to think on it.
I apologize, I was muted. Yes, you want to open up for public comment, and then continue the meeting till whatever date you choose or till next month, and then go from there.
So Brent, that would be you opening the public hearing and then entertaining a motion for a continuation.
I would like to ask if there are any public comments to the application now that we've heard what the scope of the request and some of the justifications for the potential use of this facility. Is there anyone wishing to speak against or general comments dealing with this application?
Make sure the namel's still on it. They haven't heard a word out of it.
Emil is still on.
Yep.
He is?
He's still on.
Okay. Haven't heard anything out of it, got it.
Hearing, because the extenuating circumstances of the way we have to communicate this meeting, I would like to request that we have a continuation for at least 10 to 14 days of this case in order to hear the public comments and act on it.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, staff, I think, agrees with you.
Then we have to hear the two comments from the
Yeah, Randy, we're gonna ask you if you can to read the comments that you have on the YouTube chat. And then again, it was noted earlier in the meeting that folks wishing to comment further can send an email to comments@beavercreektownship.org. And again, I'm just gonna go ahead and type that into the chat one more time in case.
Actually, Max, I have that ready. I have that ready for the chat. So when we're ready, I can include that.
Perfect. So yeah, Randy, if you want to go ahead and read the comments that you have received real quick.
Sure.
Maybe just.
Sure. Mr. Thomas Ober, earlier in the discussion, we'll ask the question for clarity. If case gets continued, a formal forum will be available for residents to provide comments on a predetermined site. And I did say yes. I reiterated what you had explained. If the continuation is given, everyone will have the opportunity to submit comments. And as, again, you, Mr. McConnell, stated that even if people would desire to speak at the next continuous meeting, that we would possibly be able to give them an opportunity on YouTube, or I'm sorry, on the Teams meeting to log in.
Correct.
Okay. We also had a comment from Nate Shipper. Will this facility be paying HOA dues? Also, just wondering with the comment regarding Stonehill Village being responsible for maintaining the green space around their property, and during your further discussion, the board's further discussion, Miss Brittany O'Dime, the attorney from the HOA, had commented back to Mr. Shipper that the facility will be paying HOA dues, and a separate neighborhood society will be formed to oversee the management of the mixed-use section. That is from, again, this is Brittany O'Dime, who's the attorney for the HOA. And then we have one other comment from Mr. Thomas Ober. Will the proposed second access road requirement be allowed to connect to Claiborne Greens community roads? And that is currently all the questions we have online.
Thank you, Randy. So, Mr. Huntsman, if you'd like to make a motion now, if you'd like to continue the hearing, you can do that at this time.
I would, but I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Sure.
What would be an appropriate date that all the other members could meet?
We try for the 3rd of June.
The 3rd?
That's be 2 weeks.
Enough time?
That'll be 14 days from today. I think as a staff, we think maybe 2 weeks is sufficient amount of time.
Because we don't have to post anything in the paper.
Yeah, we're not worried about having to re-advertise in newspapers or anything like that. So we think 2 weeks is enough time to take into account the comments, make, have some conversations with the developer and with other stakeholders, and bring it back to you again on the 3rd. I think that's reasonable.
So does June 3rd work for the BZA members and the applicants?
This, John, is the format going to be similar that we're doing now, or is it going to be an actual physical meeting?
So I'll be honest with you and say that's currently up in the air. As of right now, I would say that we should expect a similar format, barring any major changes. Now, Randy, you might be able to comment a little bit more, but
yeah, Mr. McConnell and board, I know the township administrator Alex Zaharieff is looking to possibly start up Beavercreek trustee meetings with some social distancing down in the township meeting room here. If we will be in contact with Mr. Zaharieff to see if that is possible for June 3rd, and then obviously get back to everyone individually. Unfortunately, I don't think we have that ability to comment on it now, but Dawn, do you think it would be appropriate if we did change it and we were able to bring it into the township meeting room that we could advertise it?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you could do, I think the public needs to be aware of when, when it's going to take place and how it's going to take place. I think if you make everyone aware today that would be, posted on the website. And I'll be honest, I'd have to look into the issue whether we'd have to actually advertise it like we typically do, given that we're discussing it here in the meeting.
Okay.
But I think, as long as everyone knows tonight, we're clear the date, the time, and that the manner in which it'll be held will be posted. I think we start with that, and then we can figure out if we've got to advertise it.
Okay, and we can still do what we're doing now, but I think it broadcast it still on YouTube appropriately if people still don't want to come into into an environment like this and they want to stay home. I think we can still take comments that way from them.
Sure.
Okay.
Then to answer the question, then, if it's available for the board members, I will not be able to tell for sure until mid next week if I'll be back in town by the 3rd. The 10th is not an issue, but the 3rd may be a question.
okay. Any other board members?
I think either the June 3rd or the June 10th.
I think either one works for me.
Okay.
It might not be bad to look at the 10th.
Either one works for me.
Yeah, because Andy's not here for this one, which means he can't participate in the next. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we can't.
Well, he wasn't here for the first one.
Okay, so
So we better make it the 10th so we make.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're gonna shoot for the 10th if that works for everyone.
Am I right on that, Dawn? we don't have Andy Pete here tonight, but he may be available for the continuation. But since he was not here for this, is he eligible to be?
You know, I can tell you that there's some mixed authority on that, because if he has the ability to fully review the video and transcript, there are courts that say that's sufficient for him to contribute. There are some courts that say if you didn't participate in the beginning, that you, you know, shouldn't be involved. So I think if we absolutely need him for a quorum, we can, you know, flesh that out a bit. But I would certainly think it would be more prudent to attempt to get a quorum without him.
Okay. So that would be probably June 10th.
Okay. Just to be sure. All right.
That work for you, John? You be back by the 10th for sure?
The 10th will be back for sure.
Okay.
How about the applicants? Does June 10th present any conflict for you, any of you?
No, that'll work for us. If we can't do it the 3rd, obviously, that'd be sooner the better, but.
And it would be the same time, 7:30.
Yep.
Yes, and you think that we'd be able to have it in person, or at least we'd be able to come in person for that one?
But, I mean, potentially, but we are not certain whether or not that'll be the case.
Okay.
Yeah, and I certainly understand why you'd want that. You know, if it's feasible, I believe that's something that we would certainly try to do if we can. So
that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Okay, Max, I have posted out there the BZA members have proposed a continuation of the meeting on June 10th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. I said please provide comments, any comments to comments@beavercreektownship.org.
John, do we need a vote on the motion to continue?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. You guys have to make a motion and vote on the continuance.
I make the motion for continuance to June 10th at 7:30. Venue to be determined.
And just a quick note, the venue will be posted on the Beavercreek Township website. So folks who are interested in attending should keep their eye on the website and on any notifications for the location.
Do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Hemrick?
Yes.
Mr. Huntsman?
Yes.
All righty. All righty.
Because with John unavailable on the 3rd,
Yeah.
that would be, that would,
Yeah.
we might not have a quorum.
Yeah, yeah.
We
That's
sure
it,
want,
yeah.
so we don't want to all meet again
No.
on the 3rd, not have a quorum and have to wait till the next week anyway.
And I had the one set of minutes, I believe, for September 18th of 2019. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we're done.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Can I ask one other question? It's Greg Miller. Will we receive these comments as they come in, or do we wait till the next meeting so we can try to address some of these things that may?
So if the, oh, I'm sorry, this is Greg Miller.
Yeah.
You know, Don, that's a good question. Are we able to release these comments? I mean, that should be fine, right? We can release them
Sure.
to Mr. Miller. Okay. Greg,
Yeah,
I'd be
I
happy-
no reason why not, so that they can be addressed by the applicant.
Okay.
Correct. I should also add that next Thursday on the 28th of May, we have a association meeting with the Claiborne Green neighborhood that's been coordinated by Mr. Nutter. They've all received notice of that. So that may help with the questions too.
Excellent. Well, we will be sure to, let's say by the 3rd, since the meeting is the 10th, we will collate all comments we have received and send them out to you by the 3rd. Does that give you enough time to address them?
I believe so. Roger and Buck, do you think?
I think we can work with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also expect a more detailed set of recommendations from staff, another staff report with more detailed recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
That'd be appreciated. I want to thank everybody for their time this evening. I know it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and obviously we're open to, being contacted too in the meantime with questions or, staff or anybody wants clarifications or a little bit more, information in the meantime, before June 3rd.
And all of you should feel confident that you can call us at any time with any questions or concerns that you have as well.
Right, yeah, both you and Max have been very available and very helpful so far, so that's been great.
That's our job. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Looks like a nice project.
I would like to go ahead, before we close the meeting, is go ahead and address those minutes of 9/18.
I was going to suggest that if you want to, you could wait till the next meeting since it's so late. It's up to you.
I just don't know that they were included in the packet.
I don't think
I
there's
emailed
much
them.
comments on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, it's just one, right?
Yeah, it's just one set, yeah.
My mistake. They're not included in tonight's packet, so I wasn't aware that you had access to them. But Lori tells me that you had gotten them in an email. So
What hearing number, what
Right.
case number was that?
this one was 8.
No,
The minutes?
the minutes we're going to look at.
September 18th of 19. That was like your last meeting.
You don't have a case number? Or just on the minutes of that meeting?
Yeah, just the minutes of that meeting.
838.
All
Is
right,
it 8:30? Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the 9/18/19 meeting as written.
Oh, I second that.
Is that you, Emil?
Yes.
That was easy, wasn't it, Emil? I thought Emil fell asleep, that's why I wanted you guys to check on it. I hadn't heard a word out of him.
They're digging foundation and they put in they're building. So.
Yes, yes. Okay, on the minutes, Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Martinzik,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Huntsman.
Yes.
All righty, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, do we have a
Do I
motion?
hear a motion for adjournment?
Adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn. Sustainable.
Okay,
Second?
I'll second it.
okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
This is